Hyoudou Issei is a risless, pathetic loser who lacks the confidence to talk to girls. All he does is fantasize with his two friends Matsuda and Motohama and peep on girls in their school. However, one day he is attacked by a fallen angel, and his world turns upside down when he is recruited by a coven of devils and discovers that he himself is a devil. Issei is a guy who, along with his two friends Matsuda and Motohama, spends most of his time daydreaming about girls and hoping to get a girlfriend. The three of them lie on the school field, fantasizing about the girls they see at Kuu Academy, a school that was once all girls but recently started admitting boys. Issei thought that with so many girls around, he'd easily get a girlfriend, but after a year at school, his lack of confidence has kept him from even talking to a girl. Instead of approaching girls, Issei and his friends sneak around and try to spy on them, acting inappropriately instead of building real connections. On the other hand, Kiba, a blonde student, easily attracts the attention of the girls, which only makes Issei and his friends feel worse about their own lives. They wish they had the courage to get girls to notice them, but they continue their awkward and embarrassing attempts. In their free time, the three friends even go as far as trying to peek into the girls' changing room, since they can't seem to talk to girls properly. Issei gets caught during one of these attempts and is beaten with sticks by the girls for his behavior. Later that day, as Issei is nursing the wounds from his punishment, he sees Rias Gremory, the beautiful red-haired president of the Occult Research Club. She has an attractive figure that catches his attention, and he feels sad, thinking he might never get close to a girl like her. That evening, while feeling sorry for himself at an overpass, Issei is surprised when a cute girl named Amano Yuma approaches him and asks if he'd like to go out with her. Issei is shocked by her offer, as he's usually too nervous even to smile at a girl without feeling awkward. Overjoyed, he eagerly agrees to go on a date with Yuma the following Sunday. The next day, Issei introduces Yuma to Matsuda and Motohama, who are just as surprised as he is that Issei now has a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Rias hears about Issei's upcoming date and sends a member of her club to keep an eye on him. On the day of the date, Issei waits for Yuma to arrive, but while he's waiting, a stranger gives him a mysterious poster. Issei doesn't pay much attention to it, but puts the poster in his pocket. Yuma eventually arrives, and she and Issei go on their date. Issei, who lacks confidence, can't stop staring at Yuma and nearly chokes on his food. Later they take a walk in the park and end up near a fountain. Yuma tells Issei she has something important to say, and his heart races, hoping she's going to ask for a kiss. Instead, Yuma tells him to die. She suddenly transforms, wearing a dark dress with black wings sprouting from her back. Issei is stunned and confused, focusing on her appearance instead of the fact that she's now holding a light spear. Yuma then stabs Issei in the stomach with the spear, saying she's doing this because he has something called a sacred gear inside him. Issei falls to the ground, bleeding, still regretting that he didn't get a chance to be with a real woman. Yuma flies away, thinking her job is done, but after she leaves, a mysterious paper in Issei's pocket activates and summons Rias to help him as he lies dying. The next day, Issei wakes up unsure if what happened was real or just a dream. When he checks his phone, he finds that all traces of Yuma are gone, and even his friends, Matsuda and Motohama, don't remember her. Issei tries to forget about the whole thing and goes back to his usual habits with his friends. Later, at Matsuda's house, the three of them watch some inappropriate material, but Issei is distracted. He notices he can see clearly in the dark and hear things from far away. He also feels stronger. Issei leaves and walks back to the park with the fountain where he last saw Yuma. Suddenly, a strange man with wings named Donasiege appears and attacks Issei, stabbing him in the back. Just when it seems hopeless, Rias shows up with her team and fights off Donasiege, who turns out to be a fallen angel. The next morning, Issei wakes up naked in his bed and thinks it was all just a dream. But when he turns over, he sees Rias lying beside him, also naked. Issei is shocked, not believing someone like him could ever be close to a real woman. Rias then explains that she's a devil and is now Issei's master. Issei is shocked to wake up beside the beautiful and naked body of Rias. He has never seen a woman naked in his life, and his risless personality could never give him the chance to pick up a woman and date one. While he panics, his mother walks into the room and sees him naked with a naked woman. She runs out and reports to his father. But his father is more satisfied with the fact that his son can even be attractive enough to get a girl to come to his room, considering he was a loser. Rias tells Issei that she had to lie with him naked in order to heal him of his injuries with her devil powers. The spineless Issei is speechless and dumbfounded. Later that day, Issei walks into school with Rias by his side. He becomes a subject of envy among many boys and girls who cannot believe that the pathetic Issei could be worthy of Rias. His friends, Matsuda and Motohama, were confused that the loser Issei could be with Rias. Rias tells Issei that she will send someone to pick him up later from school. Later that day, Kiba goes to Issei's class to pick him up. The girls in Issei's class are shocked to see the elegant Kiba interact with the cringy Issei. Kiba takes Issei to the Occult Research clubhouse to introduce him to the rest of Rias' crew. Issei cannot believe how incredible the whole room is, and he gets overexcited. He meets Koneko, a first-year student. Issei is smitten by her beauty and drools like a dog. Next, Himejime Akeno, the vice president of the club, walks out of a shower, and Issei turns his attention to her and cannot control himself. The pathetic loser cannot believe he is standing in the same room with these beautiful women. Eventually, Rias shows up and briefs Issei on the history of the Occult Research Club and how it is a front for their actual purpose, which is a coven of devils that are summoned by human clients to perform tasks and get contracts to grow their devil powers. Rias reveals that Yuma and Donna Siege are both fallen angels that want to kill Issei for possessing something called a sacred gear. Issei is asked to focus and use his power, but the loser cannot focus because he is looking at the panties of Rias. Rias then proclaims Issei to be her servant. Issei discovers that he is also a devil as black wings sprout from his back. Issei learns that he has to perform tasks for Rias, and if he proves himself useful and not a lazy sack, he can evolve and get a servant of his own. This delights Issei and fills him with perverted thoughts. Later on, Issei is sent on a summoning call and Rias binds him with a seal of the Gremory house to his left palm. A teleportation circle is activated and Issei gets into it. However, he cannot use the teleportation circle because he is such a low-ranking, pathetic devil, so he has to ride his bike like a lame idiot. Later that night, Issei meets the client, Higure, who initially ignores Issei because he isn't the female devil Koneko. Issei begins to cry like a hopeless wimp. Higure pities him and lets him in before asking for his special talent as a devil. Issei is useless as he has no talent, but they both share the same love for a manga that they grew up on. Afterwards, Issei returns home, but he is ambushed by Kalawana, another fallen angel. Kalawana tossed a spear at Issei, but Issei managed to dodge to show that he isn't entirely useless. Issei remembered that Rias had told him to imagine a strong and powerful being and summon its power. So, Issei imagines his favorite character from his favorite manga and blasts Kalawana with pure energy, which causes her to flee. Back at the club, Rias reveals to Issei that the arm gauntlet that manifested when he summoned a powerful being is the sacred gear in him. The next morning, on his way to school, Issei encounters a blonde lady who had tripped and fallen. She is dressed like an old-timey Catholic nun. The bird-brained Issei approaches her and wondered who she might be. Issei can't not keep his eyes off her sparkling whites, but he took his eyes off them and went to help her up as a gentleman. As she stood up, the wind blew her scarf off and Issei noticed her beauty. His mind went to different thoughts and a sneaky smirk crept on his face. They got talking and she introduced herself as Asia. She told him that she was posted to the local church there. As they were going, they heard the screams of a boy in pain, and the nun rushed to him and used her magic to heal him. As she was healing him, Issei felt a sharp pain on his palm that had the seal. Soon after they got to the church and Issei felt like he was being put under a genjutsu, he and the nun parted ways and he ran straight to Rias to inform her about what he felt. She told him never to go near the church again, as it is hostile territory to devils. After the discussion, Issei went to the devil cave to chill and loiter, but he was met by Akeno, who informed him that Rias was looking for him. Just then, the arrival of huge plots signaled the entrance of Rias. Akeno then told them the message from the Archduke: a rogue devil is loose in town. Later that night, they arrived at the stray devil's hideout that had a striking resemblance to the White House.
Nice.
Rias then told Issei to watch how devils fight as the stray devil appeared fully clad in her birthday suit. The battle commenced and the devil took on the form of a god of war boss and started to shoot magic lasers from her plots. Kiba then ran as fast as the flash and cut the devil's hands with his sword. She grew them back and attacked Kaneko, but she was pushed back by her overwhelming strength rivaling the Hulk's. It was Akeno's turn to attack, but the devil tried a sneak attack on Rias which Issei blocked with his sacred gear. After that, Akeno, with her Scarlet Witch powers, conjured up lightning to finish off the devil. Rias then stepped up to deliver the killing blow like Captain America, but with demonic spells. After the battle on his way to the client's house, Issei was pondering about his role in the devil's coven he entered, but put it aside when he got there. However, the client's door was open, and as he stepped inside he got a bad premonition like a low-level fortune teller in New Orleans.
Oh my God!
He saw a light in the distance and entered the room, but he was greeted by the sight of dead bodies and blood. Sitting beside the corpses was a young priest, with the face that could be an Orochimaru clone, named Fried Zelzan. The priest attacked Issei and shot his leg with an exorcist's bullet. He tried to counterattack, but Issei was no match for the priest. Just as the priest was about to deliver the final blow, Issei heard the familiar voice of the young woman he saved in the morning scream in alarm. It was her first time of seeing a dead body and blood, and also she was apparently the assistant to the Orochimaru priest. Issei and Asia's eyes met and Zelzan was surprised that they knew each other. Issei apologized for making her find out that he's one of the bad guys, but Zelzan didn't care. As he was about to kill Issei, Asia stepped in to protect him, and the loser priest decided to punish her by having his way with her. He then began to touch her plots and threaten her with his gun on her sparking whites. Seeing this, Issei got angry and decided to become a full-time superhero. The Mexican standoff was underway between a priest and a devil. They attacked and Issei landed a punch that would have made Muhammad Ali nod in approval. Just as the priest was about to counter, a magic circle appeared and Rias and her underlings came out. As they readied for battle, multiple fallen angels approached and Rias and her uneven household teleported out with Issei screaming Asia's name like he was on the set of Romeo and Juliet. After the battle, Rias healed Issei with the naked method she used on him earlier, which left him blushing like a nerdy, risless otaku, while the others were recovering after the battle. Issei came to terms with his weakness and decided to go the Naruto path and train till he got stronger. As he started training at the park, Asia appeared. They later went to a restaurant, and he started eating burgers like Goku defeated villains. After that, they both went on an unofficial date which ended in front of a fountain where she healed his wounds with plot armor. After that, Asia went the Shunin route and began to share her backstory. After that, Issei promised to be her friend. Just then, Yuma appears standing on the water like a hidden leaf ninja. Asia then revealed that she ran away from the church and Yuma was trying to get her back. Issei tried to protect her and summoned his sacred gear, but Yuma mocked him for having such a small object, but he does not back down. Just as he was about to power up, Yuma shot him with a light lance that gave him a full body hole, but Asia healed him. Yuma tried to make a deal with Asia to come back, and she will let Issei live, but he disagreed. Yuma then launched a magical attack that caused him to fall into the river. He tried to get up but was too weak to. Yuma then proceeded to take Asia by teleportation. Issei sat and wondered why he was weak. Later he went back to report to Rias, but he received a dirty slap in response. However, as Rias and Akeno leave to attend to other matters, Issei disobeyed her orders, but he was accompanied by the pretty boy with the sword Yuno. Koneko-chan also accompanied them. Meanwhile, Rias and Akeno appear in a forest that bore resemblance to the Dark Forest in Harry Potter. They were soon met by a fallen angel Mittelt, who looked like a Japanese teen pop star. Mittelt came to stop them from entering the church, but she was informed that the advance squad has gone ahead. Later, Issei and friends were hiding in the forest beside the church and checking out their defense. Soon after, Koneko walked to the front door and kicked it open Yakuza style. They were met by the Orochimaru priest, Zelzan, who was hyped for the round 2 of their fated angelic and demonic combat. The battle started, and every fighter was activating sacred gears like Pokemons. Rias and Akeno were also ambushed by Tekken-looking characters Kalawana and Donna Siege. Their names sound like popular Italian cuisine. It seems that they also have a long-standing beef with Rias. In the church, Issei is discovering new aspects to his powers. and lands a well-placed punch on Zelzen's face, sending him bouncing like a football. But his intentions were only for his harem building. When Zelzen saw that he couldn't win, he took the coward's route and ran off. This made the team free to rescue Asia. Meanwhile, in the dark forest, the Tekken characters launched their attack. But Akeno decided to go the black woman's route and dress for the occasion before conjuring a sky-wide barrage of spells that'll blow them away. Just as Issei and friends got to the church basement, Yuma began the ritual to transfer Asia's sacred gear to herself, thereby killing the host. The ritual was completed and Yuma successfully extracted the sacred gear. She then absorbed it, but Issei did not want to give up and decided to follow the Naruto pathway of saving everyone. He was attacked by the ritual priests, but Kiba and Koneko defended them off, leaving him to fight Yuma alone. He then got to the altar and held Asia's dying body in his hands. He insisted she give Asia back her sacred gear, but she just wanted to kill them all since they were witnesses to the rituals. Issei remembered how he felt when he and Yuma went on their first date. Meanwhile, Akeno was busy defending Rias from the pop star and Tekken characters' attacks. They also taunted them about their comrades, but Rias did not give up hope in her pawn. Issei used that chance to try and escape with Asia while Kiba and Koneko held the priests off. He got her to the church building, but she died shortly after with her plots in full view to Issei, but he didn't even see them. As she died, Issei called out to God to save Asia, but Yuma made fun of him as a devil calling out to God. Meanwhile, the fallen angels outside made Rias angry, and she blew them all to dust. As Yuma was taunting Issei, he grew more angry, and his willpower grew. His sacred gear resonated with him like a tailed beast. He started attacking Yuma, but she evaded and threw 2 lances at his thighs, which met its target. The lances did not stop Issei, and he continued advancing towards Yuma like my girlfriend when I mop the floor and she falls down on the wet surface. Yuma got scared and tried to leave, but Issei grabbed her leg and dragged her down. He then proceeded to dispense the blow of justice that blew Yuma away through the roof. After that attack, his energy was spent, but he was supported by Kiba, who was surprised that he could defeat a fallen angel all by himself. Just then Rias appeared and informed him all that happened while he was fighting the angel. Moments after, Koneko dragged in the barely conscious Yuma like a heavy traveling bag. Just as Rias was about to blast her away, Yuma turned to a schoolgirl in distress and tried to sweet-talk Issei, but he didn't fall for it. Rias then proceeded to blast her away, leaving only feathers that will be used to make pillows. Rias and decided to form a demon contract with Asia, and she awoke from the dead as a demon in her employ. She put Asia under the care of Issei, and his harem grew by 1 person. The next morning, Issei went to the Devil House and was discussing with Rias. She then told him to train hard and become a mighty weapon by giving him a forehead kiss like those in Korean movies. This gesture got him hyped and feeling like he could take on the world. However, Asia saw the kiss and became jealous like my girlfriend when I talked to my female co-worker. The next day, Issei entered the clubhouse and was immediately hit in the face by a piece of underwear, sparking his usual daydreams about having a harem. However, Koneko quickly snapped him out of it by hitting him with a lobster. Rias then announced that Issei would start training to increase his strength. She took on the role of his coach, but Issei found it hard to focus, distracted by other things on his mind. Asia soon joined them, bringing refreshments, but her clumsiness caused her to trip and fall. She also had her belongings with her, and Rias revealed that Asia would be living at Issei's house. This news was quite a surprise to Issei's conservative parents, but they were happy, like any parents, at the thought of future grandchildren. Asia, meanwhile, was excited to be staying with her new in-laws, even though Issei was known for being a bit too focused on certain thoughts. The next day, Asia introduced herself as a new student in Issei's class, which caused a lot of excitement among the boys. They were all eager to get to know the blonde beauty, but their excitement turned to jealousy when she mentioned she was living at Issei's house. The boys reacted by playfully choking Issei, while the girls warned Asia about Issei's behavior and gave her tips on how to handle him. That night, Issei and Asia talked about her first day of school while riding to the clubhouse on his bicycle, with Asia sitting on the back like in a romantic movie. When they arrived, Rias wanted Asia to start her work as a devil that night. Issei protested, but Akeno calmed him down. Still, Issei insisted on taking Asia's place for the night. Issei soon arrived at the client's place, where he was greeted by a large cross-dresser who looked like a professional wrestler. The client asked Issei to transform him into a magical girl and grant him fantasy powers. The next day, during PE, the girls were stretching and the boys were trying to sneak a peek. But Issei wasn't in the mood for his usual daydreams. He was still thinking about his mission from the night before. He went to sleep in the school's sickbay and woke up to find Rias lying beside him. She teasingly asked if he wanted to touch her, and Issei smiled. But she only agreed on the condition that he form a contract with someone. That night, Issei went on another mission with Rias as his supervisor. They arrived at a traditional Japanese setting, complete with a full suit of samurai armor. To Issei's surprise, the armor stood up and introduced itself as Susan, explaining why she was dressed that way. Susan then asked them to help her retrieve her notes from a university, as she was afraid of ghosts and creatures in the night. They completed the task, but just as Issei was imagining getting closer to Rias, Susan asked Rias for some advice on her love life, which delayed them. The next day, Susan met up with her crush, with Rias and Issei accompanying her. The crush was dressed like a medieval knight from Camelot, and the scene looked like something out of a storybook. The knight confessed his feelings, and they agreed to be a couple. Later that day, Issei was eager to collect on the promise Rias had made. Just as he was about to reach his goal, the rest of the group walked in. To make up for it, Rias gave him a full hug in front of everyone. As the weeks passed, Issei and Asia were on marketing duty and were sharing flyers around town. She then informed them about the existence of familiars. Just then, the student council president Sona walked in with some of the other members of the council. Issei then found out that there were other devil families in the school. Sona introduced her pawn to Issei, but they do not get along. Rias and shared her plans of commissioning a familiar for Issei, but the one in charge is only available once a month. Rias then offered to settle it through a fair game of sports. They decided on tennis doubles, and every guy was only interested in getting a peek of their sparkling whites, while the girls were picking which sides to support, much like a beauty pageant competition. However, the game won't just end even after they've destroyed the rackets like Olympic players. Rias and Sona eventually decided on settling it with dodgeball the next night in the school gym. The dodgeball night came and Asia and Issei were warming up. However, Issei couldn't keep his thoughts from straying to naughty ones. Soon after, Issei shared the headbands he made for the team. This got everyone surprised as he was a nerdy boy who didn't know his way around a sewing kit. The game started with Sona scoring first point by grazing Kaneko's plots with the ball, but Rias fired back and stripped a member of the other team with her throw. Issei couldn't pay attention with all the plots flying around and was almost caught by a ball, but Akino saved him. Unfortunately, Sona sent a ball that hit him in his special area. Asia quickly ran to heal him like a dutiful wife-to-be. Not long after, Rias and Kaneko were facing Sona, the last devil standing. But the bell rang for final whistle, and Team Rias won. This gave them priority over the familiars. They shook hands like comrades and walked off. Later, they all got together at the Occult Research Club for a small get-together. They then went to get familiars from the familiar masters, with Sona accompanying them. Moments after, a fully clothed Tarzan-looking man on a tree accosted them and introduced himself as Zatuji, the familiar master. Issei imagined his familiar with huge plots and part of his harem. They soon began the search and came across an undine that looked more like a pro wrestler than a female. Not long after, they met a cerulean dragon, and Issei was about to choose it as his familiar. Just then, some textile-eating slime attacked the females and started eating their clothes. Issei couldn't hold back his perviness and wanted to prevent them from destroying the slime, as he wanted to claim it as his familiar. However, the dragon attacked him and chose Asia. They soon returned back, and Issei vowed that he will look for a more pervy familiar to choose next time. In the dead of night, Issei had a dream where he was getting married to Rias. His mind couldn't get away from promiscuous thoughts. Just when he was about to seal the marriage with a kiss, the red dragon appeared and started talking to him. He then awoke screaming and wondered what the dream was about. He couldn't sleep the rest of the night and was sleepy all through the night. However, he started bragging to his friends how he had a blonde beauty waking him up from his sleep. His friends groveled at his feet to hook them up with the girls. They promised to make it worth his while. Issei arranged it, and they gave him a front row seat in the girls' changing room. Unfortunately, Kaneko discovered his hiding spot and beat him like bread dough. Later at the Devil House, Asia and Rias offered to show him their birthday suits if he was that pervy, but he was shy to accept. Later, Akeno reported that the humans who summoned Issei all dropped positive client reviews despite Issei not forming any contract with them, but Rias worried about Issei losing self-confidence if it continued. Later that day, Issei was about to take his bath, but he barged into Asia having a bath which made him scream like a little girl. He apologized, but as he was about to leave, she held his hand and stopped him, creating a Romeo and Juliet love moment. Just as Issei was about to leave, his mom came up with a towel and caught them in a weird position. Later, Issei was back in his room trying to cleanse his mind from naked thoughts. Just then, Rias appeared in his room via a magic circle and started to beg him to lay with her. She quickly took off her clothes, but Issei was torn with different emotions. Rias then straddled him like a horse before displaying her huge plots and putting his hands on it. Just then, another magic circle appeared, revealing a lady devil in a maid outfit named Grafia. After a brief discussion, the maid left with Rias. The next day, Issei couldn't stop thinking about what happened the night before. Just then, he was drop-kicked by his friends who were angry at him for setting them up with cross-dressers. Later that day, they arrived at the Devil House with everyone present. Just then, a magic circle appeared, revealing a weird-looking man named Razor Phoenix, who the maid declared as Rias's fiancé. Issei was not pleased with the announcement, and it looked like Rias wasn't in support too. When no conclusion was gotten, Grafia informed them that they will settle via a ratings game. Issei didn't understand, so Kiba explained the rules to him. Razor bragged of his many wins and called forth his own pieces, which turned out to be 15 beautiful ladies that made Issei cry out loud, seeing his dream achieved. Razor then went ahead to kiss one of his pieces while fondling her plots. Issei couldn't stand for it and summoned his sacred gear to defeat Razor, but one of his pieces attacked him and threw him to the roof like a piñata. He then passed out from the damage. After seeing this, Rias agreed to the ratings game and swore to defeat Razor for the insult he just spewed at her. After the confrontation, the game was decided to hold in 10 days, and Rias decided to use that time to go through a training arc. The Devil Squad soon appeared at a manner resembling the ones Shakespeare described in his books. They first decided to take a bath before training. Soon after, Kiba and Issei face off in a mock battle, but Issei was quickly defeated. After that, he and Asia were undergoing magic training under Akeno. Asia soon displayed more magical aptitude for magic than Issei. He tried to concentrate but couldn't stop thinking about Akeno's plots. He soon went hand-to-hand combat with Kaneko, but he was tossed around like a rag doll. The fourth lesson was with Rias, who wanted them to use magic to make a meal. Issei soon discovered that his magic concentration lay in imagining plots, but he took it to the extreme end, but peeling all the potatoes. Soon after, they were having dinner, and Rias asked him how his first training day went. After eating, the girls went for a bath in the hot springs. In the male bath, Issei was trying to use his magic to peek at the female plots, but to no avail. Later that night, Issei snuck into Asha's room and asked for a favor to borrow her clothes for training. Later, Asia was worried about him and ran to meet him in the forest. As she got there, she got into point-blank range of his attack. The next day, Rias was explaining how the rating game came to be and its purpose. After the lecture, Issei asked Asia to keep his secret from the rest of the group. During the break, Rias asked Asia to tell them about the two main tools of the exorcists, the holy water and the Bible. Later that night, as Issei went for a late-night water trip, he met Rias, and they both started to discuss war strategies for the rating game. The next day, Issei and Kiba engage in a mock fight. To see how far Issei has grown in strength, he unleashed his power that was strong enough to vaporize a mountaintop like a Power Ranger attack. 1 hour until the game begins, even Rizless Issei is feeling the pressure. Soon after, Asia came to meet him dressed as a nun. She also came because she was a scaredy devil and wanted emotional support from Rizless Issei. Moments after, the alarm clock signaled the time has come to battle. Everyone is at the Devil House doing last-minute checks on their weapons like a SWAT team. Just then, the student council president and vice president came to meet them as demon journalists. As they arrived, Grafia appeared using a magic circle and transported them to the alternate space created for the game. Grafia also told Rias that Lucifer, not the one in the Bible, but Rias's brother, would be watching the broadcast also. The magic circle activated and they were teleported to an alternate space clone of the Kuu Academy. Rias chose the replica occult room as her base, while Razor chose the principal's office as his base. The rest of the team went out with their familiars to scout the locations out, while Issei stayed back and laid his head on Rias's laps while getting new power. Soon after, Akeno reported back that all the preparations were complete. Everyone was in position to commence Operation Defeat Razor. Issei and Koneko met some of Razor's pieces at the gym, and they prepared for battle. Meanwhile, Razor sent some of his other pieces to infiltrate Rias's base. The battle between Issei and Koneko with Razor's pieces was easily won, with Issei using his magic to rip their clothes off while Koneko took down their rook. After the battle was won, Akeno used her thunder magic to take them out of commission by destroying the gym. Issei and Koneko then moved to meet up with Kiba to take out the rest of the pieces that he lured with genjutsu. On their way, Koneko was suddenly blasted with attack magic from Razor's queen that stripped her and took her out of the game. After Koneko was taken out by the queen, Akeno came to face her, leaving Issei to attend to other fighting matters. He soon met up with Kiba, who had taken out the ones he fought with. The battle was hard fought, but it was still too early to decide a winner. Moments after, Rias informed them that she and Asia will launch a surprise attack on Rias's base as a distraction. She intended to launch an attack to make Razor lose his fighting spirit. Later, Kiba and Issei face off against Razor's knight. The knight launched an attack and Kiba moved to defend it. Just then, Issei found out that they were ambushed by Razor's remaining pieces. The fight continued, with each side dropping cheeky one-liners meant to destabilize their opponents. As this was going on, Rias and Asia reached Razor's base to discover that he was waiting for them. Kiba was winning while Issei was getting beat up like a sore loser. He later won using his perverted technique. However, he was gut-punched by the rest of Razor's pawns. Meanwhile, Rias and Razor face off. This made Issei level up his boosted gear and made it transform. He and Kiba then worked together to defeat the rest of the pieces in one Power Ranger-like attack. Just then, Akeno was defeated by Razor's queen, soon to be followed by Kiba. Rias managed to score a direct attack, but Razor's immortal body healed immediately. Issei then entered the enemy base and got promoted to a queen. The final showdown began with Rias, Issei and Asia facing off against Razor and his queen. As Issei attacked, the fatigue from using too many boosts caught up to him, but he refused to give up. Seeing his resilience even in the face of death, Rias was forced to forfeit the game. As he passed out, he heard the familiar voice of the Red Dragon urging him to become stronger. He then awoke in his room and tried to remember the events that happened. Just then, Greyfia appeared and told him what happened, but he did not believe her. She also informed him of his resilience and how it made Rias retire. Greyfia also informed him of the ongoing engagement party going on in the Devil Realm between Rias and Razor. Greyfia then gave him a magic circle from Surzek, who found him interesting. She then told him to raid the place if he wanted Rias back. After delivering her message, she went back to the party. Just then, Asia entered and saw him awake. She became very dramatic and dropped the bowl of water in her hand while running to hug him. Issei told her his plans to rescue Rias. She was eager to follow him, but he discouraged her. He then promised her that he won't die, and he will come back with the president like a soldier going for a rescue mission in another country. After that, Issei proceeded to have a talk with the Red Dragon and they made a deal. Meanwhile, in the Demon Realm, Razor broke tradition and went to see the wife before the party. Despite all her bravado, she was worried for Issei. Soon it was time for the party, and every popular demon was present for the engagement of the century. Just as Razor appeared and was about to introduce his bride, Issei stormed in looking like Japanese Tom Cruise. The guards moved to seize him, but the rest of Rias's pieces joined in the fight, leaving Issei to face Razor. Razor wondered what was going on. Just then, Surzek Lucifer, Rias's elder brother, appeared and told him that he was the one that planned the raid, although he called it entertainment. Surzek also wanted to see the power of Issei and wanted a fight between the dragon and the phoenix, much like a Tekken matchup. They soon appear in a battleground that looked like it was copied from Mortal Kombat. Before the fight began, Surzek asked Issei what he wanted as a reward if he won. His only wish was to have Rias back. The battle then commenced with Razor feeling like he had won. He was dropping cheeky villain lines. Issei then activated boosted gear overboost that gave him an armor that resembled something out of Power Rangers, complete with the transformation sequence. The armor also had braids like a black American woman. However, he was only able to use it for 10 seconds. Razor also launched his Phoenix attack and they clashed, but Issei was pushed back. With only 7 seconds remaining, he launched an attack coupled with a cross that severely injured Razor. They then spent 4 seconds having some weird monologue. Meanwhile, Asia was waiting for their return on Earth. As Issei was about to launch his final attack, his time ran out and the Power Ranger suit disappeared. He then offered to sacrifice other parts of his body to the dragon, but it was impossible. Just then, Razor held him by his shirt and readied to put him to sleep permanently. However, Issei went down the path of a devil exorcist and gifted his boosted gear with holy water that he then poured on Razor, causing damage to the Phoenix. At that moment, Issei decided to use everything he has learnt to deliver a final blow and administered a devastating liver shot that would have made Mike Tyson proud. The match ended and Rias flew towards him like a grateful lover. Issei and Rias then rode off into the abyss on a griffin with Sir Sex watching him go with his queen Grafia. As they were flying, Rias told him that there might be more engagement proposals to come after this one was cancelled, but Issei promised her that he would always be there to protect her from the weird men. This gesture made Rias squirm like a high school girl and she planted a kiss on his lips. With this, the first step to Issei's harem dreams have been taken. Thank you for joining us as we explored the journey of Rias and Issei and his dreams of having a harem. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you won't miss out future videos. And don't forget to always fight for what you believe in, no matter the obstacles that come your way.